Today, new allegations of sexual abuse against disgraced Nikola founder and former executive chairman Trevor Milton. We talked to the CNBC.com reporters who broke the story. Plus, $750. That's how much President Trump paid in taxes in 2016, according to a massive New York Times review. We explain how that happened. And finally, the global coronavirus death toll hits a grim milestone as New York City's positive test rate increases, the NFL reports new cases within its ranks, and cold and flu season draws ever nearer. I'm MacKenzie Sigalos, and this is CNBC After Hours. The wins of the past few days are over. Wall Street puts up a day of losses as coronavirus cases jump in some U.S. regions, including New York City, the epicenter of infection back in the spring. So the books are all but closed for stocks in September, which ends tomorrow. All the major averages will almost certainly finish safely in the red, along with the 5 biggest tech names: Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and Alphabet. It was also another tough day for Nikola stock. Shares have been sliding for a while, down about 70% in the past 3 months, and they've been in a near free fall for the past month, down nearly 60%, in which time a short seller firm accused the company and its founder/executive chairman, Trevor Milton, of lies and fraud, allegations that Milton has denied. Now, regulators like the SEC and Department of Justice reportedly started poking around the company, and then Milton resigned last week, taking with him a separation package worth billions. And all of this is happening while Nikola tries to close a partnership deal with auto giant General Motors before September 30th, which is tomorrow. And all of that now brings us to today. Nikola stock fell another 7% after CNBC.com reported that 2 women have filed sexual abuse complaints against Milton, who a spokesman says strongly denied the claims. Don Kopecki and Mike Wayland broke the story.
The allegations started the morning of September 21st when Trevor Milton's cousin put on Twitter that she had been sexually assaulted by him when she was 15 years old. Her name is Aubrey, and she actually put these allegations out on her Facebook page in 2017. She didn't name Trevor Milton by name, but she said that she had been sexually assaulted by her cousin when she was 15, which lends a little credence to her allegations today. That happened the morning of Sunday, September 21st. Late into the night, Trevor Milton stepped down as executive chairman of Nikola. A second woman has come forward accusing Trevor Milton of sexual assault in 2004 when she was 15 years old and he was about 22. She worked as an assistant in an office of his in a security company that he ran in St. George, Utah. She said that she'd worked with him for a few weeks. He asked her to stay late one night to watch a movie in a theater room in the office, and that's where he allegedly started to cuddle with her, grope her, and led to a sexual assault. She has come forward and filed a police report with the police in the jurisdiction in which that happened. Trevor Milton, through a spokesman, strongly denied any and all of these allegations. He said that he didn't inappropriately touch or didn't have any kind of contact with anyone at any point throughout his career. He has not been charged with a crime of any kind, but the attorney for the victims said that those charges typically carry penalties of between 1 to 15 years for forceful sexual abuse and 5 years to life in prison for object rape.
We really kind of started really focusing on Nikola when they went public June 4th, and then they announced a deal with GM, and that was September 8th, a very kind of high important deal that we were waiting for from Nikola, for someone to build their Badger pickup, as well as GM was going to get an 11% stake in the company. 2 days after that, a short-selling firm called Hindenburg put out a report that really kind of led to fraud allegations against Trevor Milton and Nikola overall. Once that was kind of out there, there were a lot of other people looking into his personal life and his background. And from there, a week and a half later, he resigned, and that's also when the first victim, his cousin, came forward on social media. Trevor Milton has essentially denied all the allegations of sexual abuse, as well as any of the claims of fraud.
GM released statements to CNBC saying both sides said that they are still negotiating and discussing this deal.
Okay, let's get to our sound check. Here's a roundup of the day's biggest action and what the top newsmakers and business leaders had to say on CNBC's airwaves.
They seem like the safest money going. I think that's why money is pouring into these companies. They just keep issuing returns inside of the pandemic. They're doing better than ever, whether or not they're embarrassed to say that too confidently and too loudly, but they are doing better than ever. And I think importantly, it's really hard to see threats to the core businesses of the biggest companies.
I have noticed, and I'm part of the secular shift to vegetable-based diets here in the United States, and AppHarvest fits the bill. The way that they are going to be able to grow vegetables and fruits sustainably, not causing any of the water scarcity and the land degradation and the deforestation that's occurring with regular agriculture here in the States, really, really interests me.
And what we're announcing today is the democratization of AI, that VMware and NVIDIA are coming together to really leverage all the work that they've done over the last decade and a half in AI and put it on top of the industry standard, pervasively deployed VMware footprint to enable every enterprise to be able to have this game-changing technology of AI.
We have a number of asks that I think both sides agree with. 4, 5, 6 asks that would really help the economy, okay? I don't think the recovery, the V-shaped recovery, depends on it, but PPP extension for small businesses, $105 billion to get the kids back to school. We call it Kids and Jobs. Some supplemental unemployment assistance would be very helpful. We're going to have some assistance, significant assistance, as you know, for airlines.
What hangs in the balance are literally tens of thousands of jobs, people's lives, and the amount of service that communities, both or small, medium, and large, are going to get going into the future.
As the very first presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump kicks off tonight, voters will almost certainly be focused on the deadly pandemic sweeping across the country and the economic toll that it's taken on many households and businesses. But they might also be expecting to hear about taxes and not exactly proposals for new changes to the tax code. We're talking, of course, about the bombshell New York Times review of years of President Trump's taxes after the paper obtained those returns. What they show is just how much money he made from The Apprentice and that he paid only $750 in taxes in 2016 and 2017 after years of paying $0. CNBC Wealth editor Robert Frank explains how Trump, the reality star and real estate mogul, paid fewer taxes than most of America's teachers.
You can divide Trump's business empire into two categories, really. There's The Apprentice and then everything else. Prior to The Apprentice, he was making pretty good income and not paying many taxes because of a huge loss that he had in the mid-1990s, which he continued to carry forward for 10 years, so he didn't pay many taxes. But The Apprentice debuted in 2004, and the cast started just pouring in, over $400 million coming in just from The Apprentice and associated marketing rights. He also had nearly $200 million coming in from a partnership that he had with Vornado. So what he did with all of that new cash is he went on a giant shopping spree, and he bought nearly a dozen golf courses and associated properties. The problem was very few of those properties actually made money. Even if you take out depreciation, which is a tax strategy, those businesses losing over $300 million in the coming years. And so he's used that to offset his taxes, which is why for 10 of the last 15 years, he paid zero taxes. And in 2016, he paid only $750. The president responding forcefully, saying this report in the New York Times was entirely fake news. His attorney saying he has paid hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes, including millions since he has been president. Now, what that may include is payroll taxes for his employees, and also it includes the millions in taxes that the president has paid but then gotten back from the government in the form of this giant refund in 2010. Now, he owes a lot of money. He's already forgiven or defaulted on over $200 million in debt. In addition to the pandemic, which has weighed heavily on the golf courses and the hotel business, he also has $421 million in debt. Now, 300 of that comes due in the next 4 years. And so the big question for his presidency and even his post-presidency business career is, does he have enough assets? Are those assets valued enough to fill those debt and to pay that debt? Recently, the hotel in DC was for sale, but now that sale has been put on hold. And so that debt, who holds it and can he pay it back? That will be a question during and after his second term, if he gets one.
Okay, time for today's numbers round. First up is $2.2 trillion. Democrats on Capitol Hill released a new $2.2 trillion coronavirus relief bill last night, as pressure mounts for Congress to pass another round of stimulus to help people and businesses still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the bill includes an extension of the $600 a week boost for unemployment benefits, another round of $1,200 checks to most Americans, plus billions of dollars in aid to businesses and state and local governments. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke with Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin about the bill for nearly an hour today, which is some positive movement in the direction of breaking the impasse in Washington. Next, 60,000. 2 wildfires burning through Northern California are tearing through the area's notorious wine-producing regions of Napa and Sonoma counties. The Zogg and Glass fires have already scorched more than 60,000 acres of grassy hillside terrain and prompted mass evacuations. As of yesterday evening, both fires were 0% contained. And finally, 1 million. More than 1 million people around the world have died from COVID-19, according to data compiled by Johns Hopkins University. Now, about half of those fatalities come from just 4 countries: the United States, Brazil, Mexico, and India. The tragic milestone coincides with a second wave of infection spreading throughout Europe, rising case counts in some U.S. states, and of course, the return of cold and flu season. That's it for After Hours, but before we go, here's one more thing to keep an eye on. Tonight, Joe Biden and Donald Trump will go head-to-head in Cleveland for the first presidential debate. We'll be live streaming the whole thing on CNBC.com starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. Plus, get the latest polling and analysis ahead of the 2020 election on CNBC.com and on the CNBC app. We'll be right here in our home office every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday with new editions of After Hours, so be sure to catch us then.